Welcome aboard, applicants. We're going to begin with question 3 of a baby bar essay, June 2002. So let's begin. Question 3 is our question, by the way. Let's begin with a call of the question, as we always do with our essays. With what crimes, if any, might Anna, Bob, and Cindy be charged, and what defenses, if any, could each assert? Discuss. Okay, now, with this, we know that we're dealing with crimes, so our area of law is going to be criminal law. So that's a great help. We also know we have 3 criminal defendants, okay? We have Anna, we have Bob, we have Cindy. So what we're going to do is we're going to break our call into 3 parts. We're going to say crimes and defenses of Anna, crimes and defenses of Bob, crimes and defenses of Cindy. And then we're going to put in our shopping list. Murder, structure, theft, crimes against the person, solicitation, conspiracy, attempt, and defenses. Copy and paste those into each part of our call. Here we go. And there we go. Let me actually move this down so that all these can be shown. Here we are. Perfect. So this is how we would have this set up. Each one of our calls would receive its own shopping list, because each particular criminal defendant, we're going to run through our shopping list for each. Okay, so let's begin. Let's read our question now. Anna owned a business and stored insured business inventory at a warehouse owned by Bob. Anna was experiencing financial problems and needed funds to pay her creditors. Bob, after hearing of Anna's money problems, suggested that they hire someone to burn down the warehouse, since he was planning to build condominiums on the warehouse property and could use the insurance proceeds for the construction of the condominiums. Bob told Anna that he knew someone who would handle burning the warehouse in return for a percentage of the insurance proceeds. Anna agreed, and Bob contacted Cindy to burn down the warehouse. Cindy obtained the location of the warehouse from Bob and proceeded to set fire to the warehouse. Unbeknownst to Anna, Bob, or Cindy, a homeless person, Daryl, was living in the warehouse. Daryl died as a result of the fire. After hearing about Daryl's death, Anna and Bob decided not to make any insurance claims. After an investigation, Anna, Bob, and Cindy were arrested. Okay, we pretty much have a pretty good picture in our mind of what is going on in our fact pattern. So let's read this again for issue spotting purposes. Anna owned a business and stored insured business inventory at a warehouse owned by Bob. Still, we don't have anything. This would be considered a foundational fact or a background fact. Anna was experiencing financial problems and needed funds to pay her creditors. Still, pretty much foundational facts at this point. Bob, after hearing of Anna's money problems, suggested that they hire someone to burn down the warehouse, since he was planning to build condominiums on the warehouse property and could use the insurance proceeds for the construction of the condominiums. This suggested aspect means that Bob, criminal defendant Bob, could very well be chargeable with solicitation. So let's make note of that. Right under here, we have solicitation. I should say, we'll just come out here and say solicitation. Okay. Now, now Bob told Anna that he knew someone who would now remember here that Bob is also chargeable with conspiracy if Anna were to agree to this criminal objective or to his criminal plan. Bob told Anna he knew someone who would handle burning the warehouse in return for a percentage of the insurance proceeds. This is classic agreement in this is what we'll use later on to establish an agreement for the third criminal defendant, Cindy. But for right now, still, this is just foundational facts, just building towards that issue for Cindy. Anna agreed. There we go. Anna agreed. At this point, we have a conspiracy. Now remember, we have the initial conspiracy between Anna and Bob. So let's make note of that. We already talked about solicitation for Bob. We're going to talk about the conspiracy for Bob, conspiracy with Anna. Okay. Now up here we have conspiracy. Now remember, it's maybe not properly headered conspiracy with Anna, but conspiracy. And then we'd come up here for Anna and take note that we also have a conspiracy for Anna. Okay, now coming up here, Cindy obtained the location of the warehouse from Bob and proceeded to set fire to the warehouse. What we're going to take heed in this instance is, or pay attention to, is that Bob is the one that's providing Cindy the location of the warehouse. So Bob is not only an accomplice, or I should say this, not only a conspirator, but he's also an accomplice. Accomplice liability. Without Bob providing Cindy the location, Cindy may not have been able to locate the warehouse. Now, unbeknownst to Anna, Bob, or Cindy, a homeless person, Daryl, was living in the warehouse. Now, Daryl died as a result of the fire. Now, this is where we will bring out our homicide up here for Anna, our homicide for Bob, and a homicide discussion for Cindy. Now remember, the target of our conspiracy is what? Exactly right. It's arson. So let's take a look here. Right here is be structure. This would be down here for Cindy. Structure would be arson. Now remember, we could also see that Anna and Bob are chargeable with arson. But in this instance, I would lean in the direction that the one who perpetrated the criminal objective would be where we would take up our main discussion of arson. And so, even though Bob and Anna are involved in this arson, it was Cindy who carried out the arson. So that's why I'm leaning in that direction. Now, I just want to put it down there anyway. I'll put it in parentheses, depending on how we would like to bring that up. But like I said, I would probably bring that up under Cindy. Now, under theft crimes, remember, what was it that they were up here further? One of our foundational facts was that Anna was experiencing financial problems and needed funds to pay her creditors. And what was it that she had? She owned a business and stored insured business inventory at a warehouse owned by Bob. Now, Bob, just reiterating our facts again, after hearing of Anna's money problems, suggested to hire someone to burn down the house, since he was planning to build condominiums on the warehouse property and could use the insurance proceeds here. Let me highlight that. That would be false pretenses, insurance fraud. So, at this point, false pretenses, / insurance fraud, copy and paste this down under Bob, and copy and paste this. Actually, would probably just stick with Anna and Bob on that one. Now, right up here, or down here, I should say, after hearing about Daryl's death, Anna and Bob decided not to make any insurance claims. The decision not to make any insurance claims transforms this false pretenses insurance fraud into an attempted false pretenses insurance fraud. So we're going to talk about that here. Okay, now I think we pretty much have tackled this one. So we did not have, we had an attempt. We didn't have any crimes against the person. So we had a theft crime through the attempted false pretenses insurance fraud. We had the structure crime possibly through with the discussion of the arson for Anna. We had the murder, the homicide of Daryl. Okay, and then we had the conspiracy for Bob. But remember now, we don't want to walk away from this too soon for Bob, because we have technically what criminal law calls as a wheel conspiracy concerning Bob. Now what we have here is not only do we have the homicide of Daryl, we also have the potential discussion, like we talked about, of arson. So there we go. And again, sharing the criminal objective of attempted false pretenses insurance fraud with Cindy. No crime against the person. We have the solicitation conspiracy and accomplice liability. I would probably start my discussion up here with this. So let's cut this and bring this up top. Organization here is premier. Solicitation, he solicited Anna. And then the conspiracy number one was with Anna. Okay, and then we have conspiracy number two, and that was with Cindy. Okay, now down here under Cindy, that's where we would bring in the additional aspect of conspiracy with her conspiracy with who? Conspiracy with Bob. Now, let's come back up here and let's see. Rearrange Anna here. There we go, right there. Okay, looks probably would want to take this and put this up above. Second here. Organization on this one is very important, like I pointed out. Arson right here. Right there. Okay. Now I come down here. It's the solicitation of Anna. It's conspiracy 1 with Anna. Conspiracy 2 with Cindy. The accomplice liability. The homicide of Daryl. We probably would talk first about the arson. Okay. And then, well, actually before, yeah, I would probably trail with the attempted false pretenses insurance fraud. Then down under Cindy, this was the homicide. Okay, we're going to talk about the conspiracy that she had with Bob before the full arson discussion. Right here, and then the homicide of Daryl. There wasn't any structure. Well, actually, yeah, there wasn't any structural crimes besides the arson. Okay, then we don't have any theft crimes, no crimes against the person, no attempted crimes there because it was the full crime of arson. We want to make sure too that we conclude, reach a conclusion here on each one of these. Something that we should strive to put into our every outline. Okay, and right there, conclusion. So let's, I think, let's see, come up here. I think that's pretty pretty well all of our spotted issues. Maybe one last read would be in order here. Anna owned a business, stored insurance business inventory at a warehouse owned by Bob. Anna was experiencing financial problems and needed funds to pay her creditors. Okay, so this is where underneath her attempted false pretense, we want to make sure to point out that a possible defense of financial necessity, which would not work. Okay, and then that so far there. Bob, after hearing of Anna's money problems, suggested, as we talked about that's the solicitation by Bob, that they hire someone to burn down the warehouse. That's burn down the warehouse is the reference to that arson aspect that we just talked about. Since he was planning to build condominiums on the warehouse property and could use the insurance proceeds, we talked about the insurance proceeds being the false pretenses, insurance fraud and they decided not to file their claims concerning down here after hearing about Daryl's death. So that, even though it was false pretenses insurance fraud, it was actually attempted false pretenses insurance fraud. How about burglary when Cindy broke? Thank you for pointing that out. Very good. Very good. Absolutely. All right. Very good point. Excellent point. And we want to make sure when we bring in burglary. Yeah, no, that is a very good point. Common law, modern law burglary. Absolutely. Yeah, you have your thinking cap on. Absolutely right. Very good. And that would be under Cindy, like you pointed out. Want to make sure too that okay. Now, Bob told Anna that he knew someone who would handle burning down the warehouse in return for a percentage of the insurance proceeds. We got to make sure too that under Cindy that we talk about the special issue of stake in the venture for it's the agreement aspect for conspiracy. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out because we don't want to walk right by that analysis of facts, the percentage of insurance proceeds right here. Point that out. Okay. And then Anna agreed and Bob contacted Cindy. So this is Anna agreed. There's your first conspiracy. Bob contacted Cindy right here would be your second conspiracy. The connection between the two would be Bob, and that's why Bob is technically the one who has two conspiracy claims. See up here we have Anna having one, Cindy having one, but Bob has two, one through Anna and one through Cindy. Okay. Now, to burn down the warehouse, again, reference down here to the criminal objective to burning down the warehouse. Cindy obtained the location of the warehouse from Bob. We talked about that. Obtained the location. Makes Bob an accomplice in that he aided and abetted with the intent that the crime be committed. And proceeded to set fire to the warehouse, which is exactly like our listener here, our viewer, pointed out that there was not only an arson here, that there's a burglary as well, because that person has to get inside that building, and what is it? When they enter that building, they're going to be entering that building with the intent to commit a felony therein, the felony being arson. And we look through the lens of common law or modern law. Most likely, it's going to be modern law. So when there's a lot of issues to spot here, I do think it would be important to put down both rule statements, but definitely what we're going to be going with is the modern law. I'm going to put that in brackets here because we're dealing with a protected structure rather than a dwelling house. Okay, and unbeknownst to Anna, Bob, or Cindy, a homeless person, Daryl, was living in the warehouse. Now, this might be the additional defense provide that for Cindy down here. Possible defense of mistake. Mistake of fact. But remember, mistake of fact has to be a reasonable mistake. And it was not here because a reasonable person, first of all, wouldn't have been engaged in the criminality. And secondly, this is something that a reasonable, again, I guess to reiterate that, a reasonable person would not have been engaged in this criminality, and it's also a very very weak defense in this context. Okay, so but it's worth bringing up, mentioning, and briefly dismissing with for Cindy for a defense, because the facts do raise it and indicate it up here when they say unbeknownst to Anna, Bob, or Cindy, which you could also use that defense too for possibly Bob or Cindy. Now, I would argue that Bob doesn't have any defenses. You could say that the defense. I really don't think he has any. Maybe again, like we pointed out, he may have the defense of mistake of fact. It's possible, but I think I would err on the side of Bob not having any defenses or any recognized defenses according to the facts. Now, unbeknownst to Anna, Bob, or Cindy, a homeless person, Daryl, was living in the warehouse. Daryl died as a result of the fire. Now, after hearing about Daryl, now this here, the death of Daryl, is where we get that homicide. And not only homicide, I was going to say we need to point out too that, because we don't want to walk off the exam without talking about involuntary manslaughter on these as well. Make sure I copy and paste these down here. Now you may be noticing that this definitely is a racehorse, and that is a good observation. And when you have these, this is where you probably would not have as much discussion. It would be very brief, very to the point, and then moving on to the next issue. Because we want to cover as much ground as possible. I.e., example, we want to finish, okay, and that's the I guess the goal of this particular essay in terms of its racehorseness is that the examiner should strive to get all these issues talked about in as complete as possible, efficient probably be the best word, and making sure that they talk about all the issues concerning all the criminal defendants. And as you probably have noticed here, one of our bigger criminal defendants here would probably be Bob or Cindy. It's probably a toss-up. Now, yeah, so we would probably dedicate more time to Bob and Cindy than we probably would to Anna, but it's how the applicant takes the exam as well. Okay, so after an investigation, Anna, Bob, and Cindy were arrested. Okay, now I think this pretty much concludes our discussion and analysis of this particular essay. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you had a wonderful time reviewing this question. I want to put a shout out to the Chess Cruncher TV. Keep chess crunching, Chess Cruncher. And I also want to put a shout out to my Amazon Kindle book, Battling the Big Bad Baby Bar, Essay Basics. Thank you so much for tuning in, and God bless.